afternoon, everybody. Everyone, fine to see if you don't have one. Hopefully everyone's hungry for some ketchup. It's great to hear all the conversations, and we're very, very, very pleased with the turnout. My name's Tim Taylor. I'm the Strasburg Heritage Association president. The first thing I do want to do is recognize our board members. I won't make you stand, but at least raise your hand for right now so I can catch you. So board members, please raise your hand. Please, come on, so thank you. There's Joan Williams, and you're here for her. What? Hold on, hold your applause till I'm finished my remarks, please. Joan Williams, you'll hear from her in a second. Okay, we got Carla Wallen, Barbara Adamson, there's Polly Wilson sitting on the corner. I know you always enjoy her cookies. I know, where's Linda Williams? Probably back in the kitchen. Okay, is Nick Racy here? All right, Nick's on our board, Nick Keister's on our board. Please keep Marie Spence in your prayers and thoughts. She fell down food line. She's recovering now. But please keep her in your thoughts and prayers. Am I missing any board members? I know you're there, Kathy. All right. And our last board member I'll recognize, and after I finish talking about her, then we can applaud. Kathy Kehoe's on the board, and the ones that are members, okay, all the awesome newsletters that we send out, Kathy's responsible for those, all the great stories and everything. She's the brain trust behind this event today. All right? I know it's going to go well. She's worried to death. Give her a round of applause. There's other board members that help, but she was one that really got after and got things set up. I think the air conditioning's coming. This is an extremely warm fall day, but we'll do the best we can. A couple of quick comments about the Heritage Association, of course. Raise your hand if you're a member of the Strasburg Heritage Association. Ooh, that's weak. That's weak. In other words, I want everybody back to the next meeting we have in February, which is our annual membership meeting. Then I'm going to ask the same question. I'm going to see about 4 times as many hands. No lie here. The other day, obviously, we're in the holiday shopping season already. Okay, so I went online. My wife does a real good job of stuffing, the Christmas stockings for Christmas for my girls. And so we usually go online and see what the hottest gifts are to put into, the Christmas stockings and everything we have. We actually have stockings for our dogs and any other pets that we have. One time we actually had chickens. We had 8 stockings for our chickens. Okay, all full of little corn and stuff. All right, so anyway, I went online looking for stocking stuffers and everything, and there were some tech things we thought the girls might like, etc. I went to a website and it had the top 10 stocking stuffers for 2019. And guess what? The Strasburg Heritage Association membership was number 8 on that list this Christmas. Number 8. And guess what? It only costs $20. So if you buy a membership and stick that in a Christmas stocking for someone this year, that'd be one of the greatest gifts. You tell us in the top 10 for this year's Christmas season. All right, there's my plug right there. Okay. Now, joking all aside, there are actually brochures back there where you can sign up for membership. Okay, there's other information. We also have a historical plaque program that's also back there. Carla Wallen heads that up, so make sure you check that out there as well. All right, that's enough. Let's go ahead and bring up Joan up here. She talked about our important holiday homes tour that's coming up here in December. Testing 1.
Anybody find some black glasses on the floor? There are glasses here. Good afternoon. First, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today for one of our most creative programs, and I'm certain you're going to enjoy it. I'm Joan Williams, and I'm honored to be a board member of the Strasburg Heritage Association and to be involved in this year's tour along with many, many other volunteers. This Heritage Association is pleased to present the 2019 Strasburg Holiday Heritage Homes Tour. We are fortunate to have 6 beautiful and unique homes on this year's tour. So mark your calendars, you don't want to miss out on this one. This event will be held on the 2nd Saturday of December. That is December 14th from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. Our brochures and tickets are $10 per person, and they'll be on sale Thanksgiving weekend at 2 locations. The first is the Hotel Strasburg, and the other is Podtown Organics. You'll also be able to purchase tickets the day of the tour at each of the homes on tour. Not all, but some of our homeowners are here with us today, and I encourage you to speak with them at the completion of today's program. I'm going to quickly identify the homes on this year's tour and have the homeowners stand if they're present. Also, I'm leaving these sheets out for your review so you can see these homes. I know that Joanne and Paul Gay were unable to be here today, but they live at 187 South Massanutten, and they're putting their home on tour for the first time. Our second folks are Kathleen and Craig Ernst. They have 2 businesses out of their house. Hers is the Sonner B&B, and his is Renaissance in Wood. And he's the gentleman that's also done our love sign in the park. So they're at 208 West Queen Street. We've also got Liz and Mike Marks. It's the first time for this home, and a lot of people have been asking for it. And I know you're here, so how about you standing up for me? They live at 286 West Washington Street. The other is Alice Gillenweiser and Kevin Watson. They have the Hopewell House Bike and Bed at 117 High Street. We've also got, is Kevin here? Kevin was supposed to be here. There he is! I didn't see you sneak in on me. Anna Owen, she lives at 184 South Massanutten Street. Is Anna here? I don't want to miss anybody. And I know that the Powers are out of town, but Susie and Wayne Powers, they live at 267 South Holiday Street. So those are our 6 lovely homes that we're having on tour. If anyone's interested in volunteering to be a docent for 3 hours during the tour day, please come and see me. I welcome it. And thank you for your attention, and I know you're going to enjoy our Virginia Restaurant Ketchup program. Thanks, Kathy.
A couple of the board members, I just noticed Laura Ellen was hiding there, I think. So there's Laura Ellen Wade's board member. Okay, and Sue Foster just walked in, just up there, so she's there too, there are 2 other board members. Okay, next I want to introduce Byron Brill of the Brill family, son of Alvin Clarence Boogie Brill, to make a few comments. Let's give Byron a hand.
First of all, I'm glad to see so many folks here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Daddy was always a lifetime Lutheran, as I have been. And if he here, he would only have one comment. He would say, "Why are we not taking an offering?"
We are actually taking one up in Heritage Association.
Excellent. Before I forget to tell you, we have a lot, we were asked about some of the memorabilia. Really, the best of the stuff that we have is on loan to the museum. So if you haven't seen that exhibit, please make a point of getting down to the museum before they close, but that's really got some cool stuff. We could talk about the restaurant forever, but I'm going to start out by asking, who, by show of hands, did actually eat at the restaurant? Show of hands. Oh my God. Well, we should bring this up over back. And with the new DNA testing, we know who's chewing gum that is. I have a list later, and the sheriff would like to talk. All right, who worked actually at the restaurant? Show me your hands. Who worked? A couple, yes. Here and there. Okay, couple. I worked. Okay, who had parents that delivered objects, as in milk? Right here, Leroy had delivered how many gallons and gallons and gallons and gallons of milk. Skank Foods delivered a lot of the food there. most everything other than that came from Brillo's. You know, Strasburg never heard of frozen hamburger because it came right from the market over to Brillo's, and who delivered hamburger virtually every day. I'm not even sure where the eggs came from. Oh, I know, Larry Crable's daddy. He brought the eggs in, that's true. So you have to stop and think 50 years ago where a lot of things came from. As you think about these French fries, I want you to remember one little point though. I worked at the store, at the restaurant. I was born in '47, and I think from about 1959 till '65, till I went away to college, I took out virtually every little piece of trash and brought down every little piece of whatever from the storeroom. The storeroom was up the street. Right next to the store was one barber shop. Then there was an empty kind of space, there was a lot of things. Then our storeroom, then there was another barber shop at the far end. So you'd go up and down the sidewalk carrying whatever. 50 pounds of potatoes or 100 pounds of sugar or whatever. No matter how good the French fries are today, I would venture a guess that they won't be quite as good as the restaurant because, some of you know the answer, because every French fry was boiled in lard at the restaurant. And we used to get that from the stock exchange, believe it or not. Obie was my uncle, who was a co-partner of Daddy. Obie would go to stock exchange every Wednesday afternoon. He worked 6.5 days a week. 6.5 days a week. So when people ask me forever, Byron, are you going to take over the restaurant? I would candidly say probably not, because I really don't want to work 7 days a week. And I'm not sure I want to work 6 days a week, and about 4.5 sound good. So much of the family, of course, had passed away. I'm going to remind you, just very quickly, you know, how many know why Buggy was called Buggy? Anybody know that answer? Maybe. People thought that he was associated with bugs. That was not the case. Daddy evidently had, Mama was this high, and my daddy was about this high. Pop had hair that stood up right here, that reminded some of his cohorts in high school as a buggy whip. Okay, a buggy whip. Now, most folks, the millennials they are, would have no idea what we're talking about. So somebody would please write that down and appreciate it. And remember, Louise was out front, married to Obie. But Obie truly worked, and Louise worked at least 6 days a week. Then we had Brillo, as I mentioned, brought in virtually all the supplies, but we also had a key, and I remember going with Daddy down on weekends if we'd run short on hamburger, this and that. So it was virtually every day with Brillo. Remember Pearlie? Yeah. Remember Pearlie? Pearlie delivered mail, but he also cooked at nights. Judy didn't really work at the restaurant, except he was one of the family and just helped out with repairs and things. A couple of the employees, Pauline Mitchell, who remembers Pauline as a cook in the later years. Willie's mom was there years and years till she passed with lung cancer. So when you think about this cast of characters, as we talk about the French fries, and I'm extremely fond of those, but I must admit that my favorite were the pies that were cooked every day. The pies. And even then, Pop would fight with the health people because the health people would say, Mr. Prill, these pies have to go immediately into the refrigerator, which they didn't do, and saw the need of doing because by 5 o'clock there was no pie left. It barely cooled off. So even then there was a battle. Well, I mentioned the lard, and in those days, remember the old lard cans? Well, I would carry those down, and it never happened except once that a handle broke off of one of them. So here I'm trudging down the sidewalk, and only once did a handle break loose. But I had planned for that because I had a thumb on each side. So I think I only lost about half a can of lard right outside the door, which was fun for a couple of weeks. Hopefully it snowed soon and we got to scoop it up. I've already asked about who's eaten and who's worked. Who was ever thrown out of the restaurant? Anybody want to ever admit to that? And unfortunately, that was just recently. Were you crawling in or out of the window?
Carving initials on the boot.
Carving? Oh, yeah.
Everybody did it, but I got caught.
Pop had some kind of furniture polish there, and every week would kind of cover up the new initial. Kind of layer upon layer. Well, besides talking about the fries, the one thing I do remember is that many of you did know there was a riot in Strasburg. And I'm not sure the year, I'm thinking it was about 64. Does anybody know why we had a riot? Does anyone know? Well, it was very simple. The price of coffee went from a nickel to a dime. And that was the only time I remember anyone getting vicious, saying, there goes Buggy again. When we think about the good times that we've had, and again, there are only a few pictures that we have, because remember, we just didn't take pictures 18 times a day like we do now with our cameras. And there really are not that many pictures. So if you ever hear of any more, please share them with us, because we would love to add them to the exhibit at the museum, but there were just not that many taken. So if you do find those, please do. We'll have to do this again and tell some more stories, but I know we need to get on with the show.
We gotta hear some stories later.
We will. But thank you so much.
Okay, Cam gave me a specific agenda, so I'm trying to follow it, and hey, you're up next. Kathy Kehoe, let's give her a hand.
Well, as a writer, I'm not usually the one who gets up and speaks, so I'm outside my comfort zone. But this is almost spiritual, you know? Feel the vibes. I just want to thank everybody who helped to contribute to today. The goal of the Strasburg Heritage Association is to collect and preserve our town history. And so the Ketchup contest naturally fit right into this program. I love talking to people about their memories of Strasburg, saving it for future generations, and sharing it with others. I thank all those people who shared their memories for the folk histories and who are going to speak today probably. And that was great, Don. I really enjoyed listening to that. Folk history is a unique way of telling our town story. It's not about statistics. It's about what is in people's minds and hearts. It's what makes our history come alive. Folk history is what people remember from their own perspective, and sometimes I hear very different versions, but it's okay because it's all interesting and valuable. I want to say a special thank you to our board member, Linda Williams. She's been very patient with me every time I called her because I thought of one more thing, and I needed her advice and ideas to calm me down. I also want to say I've been putting the newsletter together for close to 20 years, and writing the folk history is almost as long, and I couldn't do it without Barbara Adamson. She's kept me grounded, she's kept me on meeting deadlines, and she understands me, which is wonderful. When I started on my ketchup quest, more than a dozen people gave me recipes for the bona fide Virginia restaurant ketchup. There are a lot of recipes out there in our small town, and in fact, I'm still getting people still telling me that they have recipes, and they might be duplicates, but we're going to continue our quest. 9 people who made the ketchup in their homes on a regular basis donated a jar for the contest. They make it because they like the taste better than store-bought ketchup, and they can't go to the Virginia restaurant anymore to get it. So they make it for their families and friends. We have 7 veteran customers who have agreed to act as judges and can't wait to taste the recipes. Thank you to Sarah Malk for putting together the ketchup skit. And a thank you for the people who share their memories and the folk histories, and also this afternoon. The ketchup contest is not so much competitive as it is fun. And that's why we are here today, for the ketchup. So here's to the memories.
Okay, next I'm supposed to introduce the honorable judges, and looking up and down these tables, I'm not sure what honorable fits. I think you have to prove yourself.
How come you put all the good ones over there?
I really about these, yeah, this is a hot spot. Well, please don't start carving initials. Yeah, right, that's it. That'll work. All right, so I'm basically going to go ahead and give a little description, the introduction of these judges in the order that Kathy wrote them up. So we'll start with Hoytbot. Grew up in Strasburg, spent a lot of time in the Virginia restaurant before and after school, probably sometimes during school, didn't y'all? He remembers how good it was to be back home after Vietnam, be able to spend time in the restaurant and taste the ketchup he knew so well growing up. Hoytbot, Stephen Brown. Mr. Larry Bright grew up in Strasburg and often went to the Virginia restaurant. His favorite snack was a bag of potato chips and a long Coke. There was always a red ketchup bottle on the table, and Larry loved to pour the sweet ketchup on his potato chips. And I've never heard of putting ketchup on potato chips before. Couldn't afford French fries. Or a cup of coffee in 1864. Thanks, Larry. Let's give Larry a round of applause. The next judge, of course, is Byron Brill. He's the son of Alvin C. Buggy Brill, and we know now how Buggy got his name. Byron's father and his uncles Pearlie and Obadiah, called Obie, and his aunt Louise ran the family business. Byron did not work in the kitchen making ketchup. He remembers the taste and is happy to taste the recipes for the contest. Thank you, Byron. Let's see what it is. Then we go to the roads. Sharon Bly Ferguson remembers that sometimes I would walk down the few steps in that old kitchen and sit in the old wooden booth on purpose just so I could watch the big kettle of ketchup cooking and see the homemade fries being cut by the French fry cutter. I love the smell of sugar and vinegar coming out of the door. Thank you, Sharon. Next, Jenny Bickle Hamrick. When Jenny was in 4th grade, she weighed 48 pounds and was 48 inches tall. She's now 46 pounds and 46 inches. She was so petite that when she walked to school, her grandmother teased her that the wind would blow her across the parking lot. Her grandmother, Mabel Richard, worked at the Virginia restaurant, and when Jenny walked by, Miss Richard would bring her into the kitchen and give her a donut with chocolate ice cream on top. When she was marked tardy on her report card, her mother, Jo Bickle, said no more stopping at the restaurant before school. When she grew older, she often stopped in for French fries and ketchup. Everyone liked the ketchup because the taste was different, said Jenny. Thank you, Jenny. George Hoffman has lived in Strasburg all his life. He's a former board member for the Heritage Association and has many fond memories of the Virginia restaurant. George remembers going in the kitchen entrance to get takeouts and to buy Buggy's ketchup. That ketchup, he says, was probably the sole reason he always ordered burgers, dogs, and fries. George is really excited to see how everyone has reproduced what he thinks is the real Buggy's ketchup. Thank you, George. And last but not least is John Painter. John suggested a ketchup cook-off years ago and is happy to be a judge today. He wrote in the 2009 Virginia Restaurant Folk History, in a lot of ways the Virginia restaurant defined my childhood and early years as it did for my generation from Strasburg. When it closed, it confirmed in most of us that we were not children any longer, and as the Bible says, it was time to set aside childish things. May the sweet memories shared by we, the embers of Virginia Restaurant alumni, bring to us and to all smiles and comfort forever. Great words. And there is a picture on that back table of John stuffing his face with French fries. And that was your spiritual moment, that quote is. Without a doubt. All right, next we have Sarah Mott with her skit, I believe, and she'll introduce her part.
I'm going to test this. Can you hear me?
Yes.
How hard?
Hi. Hello.
I'd like to introduce to you, this is Alan Newman. He is a Strasburg High School junior. He's also an actor and a musician. So, let's take it away. Hi, Alan. How are you?
Hi, Miss Mott. What are you doing?
I'm waiting for the program. What are you doing?
I'm waiting to meet some friends. We're looking for a place to hang out.
Oh, well, when I was your age, We used to go down to the Virginia restaurant and hang out.
The Virginia restaurant. Where is that?
Well, it is no more. But back in the day, it was the place we would go to Ketchup and solve all of our teenage problems with Buggy's Ketchup.
To Ketchup?
Well, yes, to Ketchup with ketchup. You see, the Brill brothers had the restaurant. They ran the restaurant. But well, let's go back. First there was Buggy and Duty and Pearlie and Obie and Brillo. He had the grocery store, and then Skillet.
Skillet?
Well, Skillet, that would be Mrs. Brill. But everybody had a nickname.
What?
If you weren't there, you won't get it. Back in the days, the Virginia restaurant, I remember, is where you'd sit in the booth with your initials carved in it. A chewing gum was saved underneath the table. And there was the sweet taste of Buggy's ketchup on it.
Sounds, unique.
Yes, the sweet taste of Buggy's ketchup, his homemade brew, and they made it in huge batches, and teenagers could not get enough of it. And now, in the late 50s, let's say 58, 59, our basketball team, our girls' basketball team, come on girls, any of you out there? Our girls' basketball team was a bunch of really, really unique gals. They were undefeated. On the nights when they had games, they would gather at the Virginia restaurant, as many as 8 of them piling into one little booth. They'd order a long Coke, long Coke a dime, short Coke a nickel. They'd order a long Coke, French fries, and a hamburger. They'd use an entire squirt bottle of ketchup, and then they'd get up, go back to that teeny little women's room, change into their uniforms, and back to the school.
To win.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on Friday nights, after the ball games, the big table at the front window, that long table, was reserved for the team.
What happened if they lost?
We'd cry in our fries, but ketchup is a wonderful mellowing agent. I think it's the vinegar. No, maybe not. Because the guys would stand out front on the corner and they'd be looking for their rivals. Yeah. Or they'd be watching all the cars go by, or they'd be watching all the girls go by. Sort of like that. I remember Sunday after church, you could get a big dinner, a huge dinner. Roast turkey, stuffing, gravy, mashed potatoes, green beans, celery sticks, cranberry sauce, and coleslaw for $2.95.
How much?
$2.95. I also remember when Larry Bright used to buy the long Cokes and a bag of potato chips and put ketchup. I guess that was chips and dip. Is that the reason you got kicked out? Oh no, that was John. Did you ever get kicked out? Never mind.
Yeah, this is for licking my hands because I refused to use napkin because I didn't want to waste all the ketchup.
Then one time somebody opened the back door and threw a chicken in, and it was not Tim's chicken. I threw the chicken in, and the chicken squawked, and it fluttered, and it flew up on the tables, and it pooped on the floor, and finally the boys caught it. But everybody was laughing like crazy. But that's when I found out why the chicken crossed the road.
So you figured out the questions and the chicken cross the road?
It was to prove to the possum that it could be done. There was a phone booth in the back.
Yeah, what?
A phone booth. A little teeny room with a payphone. No, payphone in it? Does anybody have a picture of a phone booth? Well, anyway, we used to put a dime in. You call your parents. You'd let it ring one time. You'd hang up. Get the dime back. But that was a signal for someone to come pick you up, whether it was a parent or a boyfriend.
So you got the money back.
How else did you buy a long Coke? The Virginia restaurant was a perfect hangout for generations. But we're in luck, Alan. So we can go over to the Heritage Association contest and try some French fries and some ketchup and hear more about the place where everybody knew your name.
Or nickname.
Where people were well fed and gossip flowed like watered down ketchup on French fries and hamburgers.
And Coke, only toss in it.
Ironically, in this year 2019,
My favorite ketchup turns 150.
we're trying to catch up,
Ketchup?
no, catch up.
Ketchup.
We're trying to catch up to their ketchup with Bobby's recipe.
Give yourself a plug.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll be in Strasburg High School's spring musical this year, as well as Mr. Ross's musical theater this year as well, sometime in April and May. That's my pick.
Excellent job.
Or if you haven't noticed, our judges are now testing out the French fry, the ketchup, excuse me, and marking their score sheets, etc. What we'll go ahead and do now is actually recognize the people that actually made the different ketchups. We have 9 total, correct? Okay, 9 total. So one of them is made by Connolly and Tina Davison Crable. Made a recipe of Virginia restaurant ketchup for a fundraiser for the Strasburg Museum. I know that sold very quickly when they did do that. Though the museum does not know who contributed that recipe, they received many comments about the authentic taste of that recipe. Is Connolly here? Okay. Next is Cecilia Arts Elbin. She donated a recipe. It says has a recipe that came from her sister-in-law, Ava Elbin. Ava's recipe has been circulating around town as Virginia restaurant ketchup. Cecilia makes the ketchup and has submitted a jar for the contest. Is Cecilia here? Okay. Debbie Funkhauser makes Virginia restaurant ketchup with a recipe from one of her aunts. She remembers going to the Virginia restaurant when a student at Strasburg High School and loved the taste of the ketchup. Debbie around? They're tired from making ketchup. Janet Fish had her first job at the Virginia restaurant in 1952 when she was in high school. She remembers watching them make the ketchup and what some of the ingredients were. In later years, Janet got the recipe from the woman who babysat her children and who had worked at the restaurant. She now makes a batch every few months for her family and friends to enjoy, who all believe hers to be the true taste they remember. And of course, Janet was on the front of the newspaper there for the article. Did Janet make it today? There she is, right in the middle. All right, Janet. All right, next is Donna Hupp. Donna Hupp is looking for a recipe to make for her husband's dentist's high school reunion. Judy Rinker had a second recipe that she didn't use that had come from her mother-in-law, Greta Rinker, who works at the Virginia restaurant. Judy gave that recipe to Donna, who entered it in a jar for the ketchup contest. Did Donna make it? Okay. Tammy Williams Kibler has made and submitted a jar of ketchup from a Virginia restaurant recipe that belonged to her mother-in-law, Louise Kibler. Tammy make it? All right, there's a mom out there though, okay. And next is Jane I. Richard. A big fan of Virginia restaurant Ketchup, has been making her recipe for years. Her family and friends tell her this is a real recipe and it tastes like a favorite memory. Jane here. Yeah. All right, next is Judy Neff Rinker. Remembers the taste of Virginia restaurant Ketchup when she was a student at Strasburg High School. She acquired the recipe a few years ago and has been making a batch for her family to enjoy and to give to friends as gifts. She used the recipe she picked up a few years ago that her family believes is the original taste. Did Judy make it? Okay. And last but not least, Mary Brim Rudolph. I know Mary's here. She's back here in the corner. She makes a recipe that comes from her husband, John's aunt, Ann Fox, who once worked at the restaurant. Mary recently made ketchup and submitted a jar for the contest. Thank you, Mary. So that's all the 9 ketchups that people are eating, the judges. Boy, you eat fast.
I don't mess around.
You don't mess around when it comes to ketchup. Okay, that works. All right, what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to go ahead with some of them are still tasty and everything. I'm going to read a couple little short little blurbs from some of Kathy's newsletters related to Virginia Restaurant or the ketchup, but really it's really an opportunity for hearing from some of you all. That's what's nice about this microphone is there's no wire attached to it. I can actually walk around the room and hand it off to somebody. So I don't want to be standing up here talking a lot. I'm going to do a little quick read, and then I'm going to start hearing from you all. And as Kathy said, Byron, you told some great stories, but I know there's a lot more of them out there. So this is from one of the newsletters, an article Kathy wrote. It says, "It was the place to be," says Strasburg native Larry Alamong about the local teenage hangout and family restaurant on the corner of Holiday and King. Right on the corner, right in the middle of town. Virginia Restaurant was a Brill family business from the 1930s until the 1970s. Many a memory was made at this center of the town's social life, where everybody knew your name, was described by another Strasburg native, Belinda Pappas Palmer. Sue Foster remembers it was a wonderful hangout and meeting place for teenagers. It was where teenagers flocked before and after high school football and basketball games, before and after school, and on Saturday nights, and where families would come for the famous turkey and dressing Sunday dinners after church. And everybody came for Buggy's famous ketchup, the homemade version of sweet ketchup unique to the restaurant. Ask any Strasburg native what they remember about the Virginia Restaurant, and the stories flow like ketchup. All right, someone start sharing. Who wants to share first? Give me a hand. Hey, we got them in the back.
I'd like to just say something to Byron.
To Byron.
Byron, would you please tell these people that actually it was our Uncle Obie that made the ketchup?
Yes. Well, really,
Yeah.
not just him, a lot of the other cooks in the kitchen do too.
But like Uncle Obie had like the original, he's the one who really made it. He just hold down
He
his
was
head.
there virtually every day.
Right, every day making the ketchup. Okay, neat. Yeah.
Well, I'm a newcomer, so we arrived in town in the waning days at the Lutheran restaurant. But maybe a little known fact, I don't know who knew George Stoddard, who renovated the bank barn back on Fisher's Hill into his home. He fitted out his kitchen with pieces from the Virginia restaurant. He had the old walnut walk-in refrigerators. We had the, no. He did the work. He took the tabletops and made his kitchen counters out of those. He even had the gas stove tops in there. He got those wonderful 14-inch thick dishes with the dividers and the mugs. And so even after the restaurant was gone, we could go to George's and eat at the Virginia restaurant.
I'm Abby Huffbright, and my father
he did two things in the Virginia restaurant. One was a wedding where they rode, him and Jimmy Baker rode their horses through the front door and out the back. And then another time, my father took a log of Limburger cheese and stuck it under the radiator and stuck up the whole place. I don't remember those. I wasn't born yet.
All right.
Ketchup was pretty good. I like the gravy. So the gravy and fries was always a favorite dish. So next year, let's do a gravy contest. I'll be the judge.
Anybody else? Here we go. Just pass it down.
I don't know how many of you knew Bill Stickley, but he threw a skunk through the back door of the Virginia restaurant. And then the next day, he got kicked out of school for smelling like a skunk.
Before we start tasting.
I don't think any of these recipes are really going to capture what went on in the restaurant if you leave out the cigarette smoke.
All right, Sarah, what do we do?
So in the early 70s, I worked in New York, and I came home in 1972 in the fall to go to Lord Fairfax. My youngest brother, was still working there, and there was a friend, a co-worker that we had named Alonzo. He was from Spain. He was a gentleman. He was on his way to Florida, and Patrick, younger brother, invited him to stay at my apartment on Main Street. And so in the middle of the afternoon, there's somebody standing outside, Sarita, Sarita, I'm lost here. So he comes in, and for letting him spend the night, he wanted to thank us. And he said, I will take you out to dinner, any place you name. Well, two other brothers, so now there's three, their two friends, and myself were in the apartment. And he was going to take me and younger brother Pat out to dinner. All of a sudden, these big eyes start showing up. And so he wound up taking all six of us down to the Virginia restaurant. And I was just as embarrassed as could be. And he fed everybody. They had those big plate specials. And at the end, when he paid, he asked if he could have a copy of the check. Fast forward about 6 months later, I'm back working in New York, and Alonzo has a copy of the check showing the co-workers how he had fed half the town of Strasburg on $16.75.
All right, now y'all going to get a chance to taste some. All right, we have a lot of people in here, but we actually have French fries and the ketchup back there as well as some other goodies. So, in an orderly fashion, you can get up and work your way back there. We got people around the table. Go back there and try some of the ketchup. Our judges are kind of finishing up when it comes down. We're picking out what you think is the most authentic Virginia restaurant ketchup. So please, get up and enjoy us a little bit of food, fellowship, talk amongst yourself. We'll be announcing winners and names in a little bit. Okay? Okay. Now's the time to announce our winners. And if some of y'all still in line, that's fine. It's just, what we do is after we do this part, obviously we'll give y'all a little bit more time to do some more tasting and also just share stories here after we get this part done. First of all, though, let's give Kathy another big round of applause. What's going to happen is I'm going to turn the mic over to Kathy here in a minute. She's going to announce the winners. And the ones that are here, if you come up here in front of the podium, she will present you with your outstanding prize. And then Michael here is going to take a picture, so kind of freeze frame up here, okay? The question's been brought up about, boy, I sure like to have these recipes. Well, they will all be posted on the Strasburg Heritage Association website for a humble price of $50. Join the member yet. It's always free to go to our website. So Bill's really good. Sue Foster, Bill Foster's good about getting things up there. So once Kathy gets the recipes to Bill, he will go ahead and put them up there on the website, know who's, etc. So they will be available to the public, the Strasburg Heritage Association website, so check that out. Also, one more plug for the Holiday Homes Tour, December 14th. Make sure you get tickets for that. It's one of our big fundraisers, Yay Joan. All right, so let's turn it over to Kathy. Let's find who won this thing.
I'm so excited. Well, what I had thought maybe might happen, we'd have a tie. So what's really interesting is that we have a tie for first place, we have a tie for second place, and it's the same people. The first place is the same entries, the first place and second place are the same exact entries. And then we have a third place. So, let me see if I've got this right now. So, do we have a drum roll? For first place, we have E.
Third place.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. For third place, we have H, which is Jane I. Richard. And you get a 1-year subscription to the newsletter as a member of the Strasburg Heritage Association.
Wow.
Okay, so for a tie for first place. Oh, second. Yeah, we won't have a second. Because there's just, it's the same people. So tie for first place is E and D is Janet Fish. And E is Donna Huck, who's not here today. She was using Greta Rinker's recipe. And you also will get a subscription to the newsletter, which you will now get in the mail. And you'll be a member of the Strasburg Heritage Association. And you get a first place ribbon.
Virginia restaurant.
From the Virginia restaurant, made in 1999.
That's solid, it's no problem. That's solid wood. Janice, you forgot to mention there's a case of jars here, you gotta fill it up with your ketchup and you're gonna share it with the board members.
What is really interesting about this is I started this ketchup quest because in 2009, when I did the folk history on the Virginia restaurant, I interviewed Liz Richards. And Liz told me then she made the ketchup and she sold it at Cliff and Curl Beauty Shop. And so I had some of that ketchup. And Mike and my brother-in-law Patrick and I had it one night on homemade French fries, and we thought it was the original recipe. So years later, I see the recipe in the museum, in the Strasburg Museum, which had commercial ketchup in it. So that started me on this quest to try to find out what is the real recipe. And what's really interesting about the Thai is that one of them has commercial ketchup in it and the other one does not. So isn't that interesting? Janet's recipe has commercial ketchup, which she remembers being on the shelves at the Virginia restaurant. She has tomato juice, vinegar, sugar, Worcestershire sauce, salt, and cornstarch. All the recipes had cornstarch in them because they were all cooked on top of the stove. And then Greta Rinker's recipe, which Donna Hupp submitted, I take this back. 2 quarts of cheap ketchup. I thought this was what it didn't have. I take it back, I'm sorry. I jumped to conclusions. She also used 2 large cans of tomato puree, sugar, vinegar, pepper, Worcestershire sauce, tomato juice, and cornstarch. So they were very, very similar in their amounts. Jane does not use commercial ketchup. She starts with 4 quarts of tomatoes, or a gallon, sugar, vinegar, sticks of cinnamon sticks. And that would have what maybe tasted like allspice, the cinnamon sticks. Pickling spice, dry mustard, and of course that was also contained cornstarch. So anyway, that's the really interesting thing about this contest, because it was all for fun, and we were really interested in seeing how that would all turn out. But I'm glad to see everybody here, and if you want to tell us some more stories, I'm going to give good. Boyd wants to tell some stories. This is an opportunity for the judges then to share some of their memories, so we can do that while we finish up, if we have any french fries left. We'll give the mic to Boyd.
I just wanted to say I was a frequent customer from the 8th grade all the way up till when I come back from Vietnam, and I got old enough I could drink beer at the front table. I know this doesn't have anything to do with ketchup, but there's a couple things that's been left out. There's also an old gang that hung out on the corner, if y'all remember that. And there's one other thing. If you remember using the ketchup in the ketchup bottle, that cornstarch you're talking about, it would get hung up in the spout. So when you squeeze it, and you really squeeze it hard, and then it will let loose, and it goes. Anyway, that's my memory. So I mentioned earlier about, they mentioned earlier about, but I said I remember buying things to, really? My head, sorry. So I used to buy things just so that I could eat ketchup, and then I would eat lots of ketchup after those things were gone. But they also had, one of my favorite things that they had was, we were just talking about a while ago, marshmallow sundaes that we could get at the restaurant. And also I just want to give a shout out to Sadie. Everybody remember Sadie? How many people in here had to lift their feet so she could throw the dance flags under there and sweep up after? Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Judges, any others from the judges? Thanks again. We're here till 4 o'clock. Okay, so enjoy more fellowship, enjoy more food. Please help yourselves. Everyone have a great regular fall and holiday season. Hope to see you on the Holiday Home Store. Thank you.